Hello, my name is Michele, and I'm coming to you from the Portland Public Library in Portland, Maine in the children's room. And I'm so happy you're joining me for our read aloud today, which is Alvin Ho, Allergic to Girls, School, and Other Scary Things by Lenore Look, pictures by LuUyen Pham, and published by Yearling. Chapter 1, Once Upon a Time. The first thing you should know about me is that my name is Alvin Ho. I am afraid of many things: elevators, tunnels, bridges, airplanes, thunder, substitute teacher, kimchi, wasabi, the dark, heights, scary movies, scary dreams, shots, school. If there were no school, my trouble would blast away just like that. I would dig holes all day. I would play catch with my gong. I would watch cooking shows, and I would keep an eye on things. It would be fantastic. The second thing you should know about me is that even though I'm afraid of many things, I'm not afraid of anything that explodes. I love explosions. I was practically born with gunpowder in my blood. This is on account of I live in Concord, Massachusetts, which is hard to spell, but where there were explosions all over the place when the American Revolutionary War started, way before I was born. Here he is in his revolutionary costume. The third thing you should know about me is that I have a dog named Lucy and a brother named Calvin and a sister named Annie Belly, who messes with my sticks and toys, eats my food, and drinks my chocolate milk and gets in my way. I am not as big as Calvin, but I am bigger than Annie Belly, who isn't a baby anymore but doesn't go to school yet. I am sort of nearly almost medium. When I stand on tiptoe and stretch at the same time, I am finally almost visible in my class picture. The fourth thing you should know about me is that I love Plastic Man, Wonder Woman, the Green Lantern, Concrete Man, Aquaman, and here he is with Calvin and Annie Belly and his dog, King Henry V, and all the superheroes in the world. I know them from reading with my dad every night while my mom runs on a treadmill like a hamster on a wheel. My dad is a great reader for his age, which could be 50 or 100. It's hard to tell. He wears reading glasses and always puts one arm around me and his other arm around Annie Belly and Calvin for support, on account of when you get to be that old, it's hard to do anything by yourself. The fifth thing you should know about me is that once upon a time, before I went to school, I was a superhero. I was Firecracker Man. I ran around our house full speed ahead, screaming at the top of my lungs while beating on a garbage can lid. I was as noisy as a firecracker on Chinese New Year. My costume was great. My gung made it. Here's his costume. But now I am Firecracker Man only on weekends and holidays. There's just no time for it. Being a superhero is hard work. You have to save the world. But going to school is even harder. You have to save yourself. Most days I can hardly even make it to the school bus. And when I arrive at school, I can't think, I can't read, I can't smile, I can't sing, I can't scream. I can't even talk. The sixth thing you should know about me is that I have never spoken a word in school. Even when I try with all my might, I always manage to say nothing at all. My voice works at home and it works in the car. It even works on the school bus. But as soon as I get to school, I am as silent as a side of beef. You're like a piece of frozen sausage falling off the truck, my brother Calvin likes to say. It is true, I'm something like that. No one really knows why I lose my voice at school, since I come from a long line of farmer warriors who haven't had a scaredy bone in their bodies since 714 AD. In China, my ancient grandpas and grandmas and aunts and uncles fought off leopards and tigers in their gardens the way Calvin and Annie Belly and I fight off mosquitoes at Walden Pond. They weren't afraid of anything. I'm afraid of everything. Chapter 2, Getting Gulp ready for school. It was the last day of summer vacation, and Calvin and I were in our room getting ready for the first day of school. He was going into the 4th grade, and I was heading into 2nd. Calvin was on the computer, and I was sitting on my bed going over my PDK, Personal Disaster Kit. When you're afraid of everything, it's very important to carry a PDK. It's like a PFD, a personal flotation device, only heavier and with more parts. A PDK begins with the right box. It must not be too big, like a shoebox, or too small, like a Band-Aid tin. A handle on it is good, but a lock is bad on account of it will keep you out when you need to get in. I use a waterproof fly box with compartment, which is just perfect. You can put anything in a PDK, but mostly it should be things that are useful in a disaster. And here he is with his PDK. Such as a whistle. If I lose my voice, a whistle is very handy. A 3-leaf clover, because I couldn't find a 4-leaf one. Garlic, for fending off vampires and teachers. Dental floss, handy for trapping, wrapping, tying, and hanging things out of Annie Belly's reach. Band-Aids, a magnifying glass for general curiosity, but can also be used to start a fire. A mirror for sending signals in case you can't start a fire. A bandana for preventing smoke inhalation in case you start the above fire, but can also be used as a sling or a tourniquet. A scary mask for keeping girls away. Escape routes. The problem with PDKs, as everyone knows, is that they need to be updated every year on account of you never know what you'll need in the next grade. Now that I could read and write without help, I was adding something I'd needed for a long time. Emergency plans. I read them aloud to Calvin. How to survive a fire in the school cafeteria. 1, lie down. The freshest air is near the floor. 2, crawl away from the flames. 3, run. And how to meet your new teacher. Put on a scary mask. Rub on garlic. Stay back 100 feet. And how to survive show and tell. Show something spectacular. Hold it high. Turn it around. Listen to the oohs and ahs. Take a bow. When I finished reading, I was very impressed with my plans, but Calvin was not. That's stupid, he said. Calvin is not supposed to use the S word. It is bad. You can't say that, I said. Okay, it's dumb, said Calvin. You're supposed to look your teacher in the eye, shake her hand, and smile. But that's harder than putting on a scary mask, I said. I'm not too good at anything ever since I started school, but Calvin is good at everything. He knows his multiplication tables mostly. He has fantastic ideas for science projects. Most days he can finish his homework without falling asleep. And someday he will know something about everything because he is reading the entire encyclopedia online. Calvin, I said, you're going to be the smartest person in the world. That's the whole idea, said Calvin. Still reading. He needed to read pretty fast to give himself a jump start on the 4th grade, which is when you have to speed read to get yourself ready for middle school. He was up to the letter D. Did you know that deers sleep only 5 minutes a day? Calvin said. No, I said, Calvin. Calvin ignored me and continued reading. The elephant is the only mammal that can't jump, he said. Calvin was right. I've seen an elephant fly in a movie, but I have never seen one jump. I need your help to finish my PDK, I said. I've already helped you, Calvin sighed. He did not look up. I need more help, I said. I need emergency plans for making friends. None of the boys at school will play with me. That's because you're weird, said Calvin. I'm not weird, I said. I have so performance anxiety disorder. It's true, I see a therapist for it. That's weird, said Calvin. He skipped ahead to S. You're weird, I said. Did you know that the author William Shakespeare invented more than 1,700 words, including assassination and bump? I shook my head. Stewardesses is the longest word you can type with only the left hand, said Calvin. I growled. Calvin stopped. Okay, he said. The first step in making friends is don't talk so much. You need to be quiet. That is the first rule of being a good friend. Oh, but I can't talk in school, I cried. That's the problem. Calvin glared at me. Maybe if you didn't use up all your words at home, you would have some to use at school, he said. I glared back. Okay, he said, if I tell you, will you stop bothering me? Okay. I agreed. Ready? Asked Calvin. You better write fast. So I did. I read it twice and then I read it again. Calvin's rules for making friends. 1, say hello. 2, just say hello. 3, trade baseball cards. 4, trade more baseball cards. 5, just trade baseball cards. It wasn't perfect, but I put it into my PDK and stopped bothering Calvin. Chapter 3, Roast Duck in the Window. After a while, I just had to bother Calvin again. He had stopped reading the encyclopedia online, and he was now sitting on the floor holding a permanent marker in his hand. What you doing? I asked. I'm writing my name on everything I own, said Calvin. That way you'll have to ask for permission before you touch my stuff. Oh. He wrote Calvin Ho on the bottom of his sneakers. Then he wrote C Ho in a glistening black marker on the bottom of his baseball glove. Calvin Ho went inside his batting helmet. Finally, he began writing Calvin Ho inside his favorite books, which were also my favorite books. It looked like I had better get started before everything belonged to Calvin. So I grabbed another marker and wrote Alvin Ho on my baseball. There they are. It was not my play ball, but my special ball, kept in a clear plastic box on the shelf. Someone else had already written his name on it, Daisuke Matsuzaka, whose nickname is Dice K. I can roll as fast as dice too, especially when I'm Firecracker Man, so my name sure looked fantastic right next to his. Now that ball's good for nothing but playing, said Calvin. It was great news to me. I had always wanted to throw it. But even better, Calvin seemed like he was now in a talking mood, so I gave him the bad news. Calvin's rules for making friends isn't going to work for me, I said. I can't do anything on the list on account of I can't even say hello. Got any other ideas? Said Calvin, his marker in midair. Are the other boys in your class bigger than you? Mostly, I said, but Pinky is bigger than everyone. Sometimes it helps if a friend is the same size as you, said Calvin, then you don't have to say anything. How come? I asked. Dunno, said Calvin. That's just the way it works. Then Calvin went over to the computer, typed and clicked. Stretching exercises for accelerated growth flashed across the screen. See results in 5 minutes. Amazing results fast. There were all sorts of diagrams and instructions on how to grow a few inches. It was perfect. He printed a few pages and we hurried outside to the backyard with them. Summer wasn't quite over, but fall was already showing off with pretty leaves, butter cinnamon, orange, and burnt toast colored. The leaves looked like fireworks exploding in the golden afternoon light, and Annie Belly was singing under them. La, 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 la. Annie Belly sang, la, 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 la. Annie Belly was digging holes, one of our favorite things to do. Her holes were not as good as mine. They weren't even real holes, just dimples, but she sure loved digging them. La, 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 la. She sang like a little bird. The garden hose was in one hand and one of my carved sticks was in the other. I ran over and I nearly almost gave her a thumping, but I didn't. I remembered just in the nick of time that I am a gentleman. My dad taught me and Calvin the rules of being a gentleman. Oh, here's a picture of Annie Belly. Rule number 1, no hitting, especially girls. Unfortunately, if I remember only one rule, it should be this, my dad said, and if I forget it, I will not be a man but a mushroom. Being a man would be a lot easier if Annie Belly didn't mess with my things, eat my food, drink my chocolate milk, or get in my way. Annie Belly, I said breathless, that stick's been carved and it's not for digging, it's only for robbery and mayhem. Yep, said Annie Belly. She stopped and she looked at the stick. My dad had shown me how to use a knife to take off the bark so that it would be smooth. I had a rare collection of these sticks against the back fence. And it's good for digging, Annabelle said. Try it. So I did, and so did Calvin. He digs better than anybody. He's a regular backhoe. Someday he could become the world's best hole digger. Dirt flew, water gushed. It was great. When our yard had more holes than the prairie dog exhibit at the zoo, we stopped. Annie Belly, you're right, Calvin declared. These sticks are good for digging. They are smooth in the hand, not rough. Annie Belly beamed. Calvin always has a good word for her. Now, Alvin and I have work to do, said Calvin. Work? Annie Belly looked puzzled. Calvin made a stirrup with his hands, and I stuck my foot into it, and he pushed me up into our apple tree. I grabbed a branch and hung from it. What kind of work is that? Asked Annie Belly. It's a stretching exercise, said Calvin, to make him taller. Being bigger will help him make friends in school. Oh, said Annie Belly. She tilted like a teapot to look at me. You look like a duck hanging in a Chinatown window. Come on, let's help him, said Calvin. He reached up and pulled on one foot, and Annie Belly copied, pulling on another. See, results in 5 minutes, said Calvin. Amazing results, fast. It hurts my armpits just a little, not too much. I could feel myself stretching like a rubber chicken. Suddenly, Annie Belly let go. Let's bake cookies with Mom, she shrieked and began running toward the house. Great idea, said Calvin, taking off after Annie Belly. Hey, wait, I cried, I want to bake too. Annie Belly looked back but didn't stop. She was getting better at doing 2 things at once, like giving orders and running. You keep stretching, Alvin, she said. We'll bring you some cookies when they come piping hot out of the oven, okay? That way you'll be half grown by the time we get back. Great idea, I squeaked. Annie Belly isn't in school yet, but she says things that sound as though she's already been through the 6th grade or something. But it wasn't such a great idea for long. I could feel my grip slipping. I couldn't hang on forever. I couldn't even hang on much longer. But I couldn't jump either. I'm afraid of heights. I could break some bones if I fell. So I swung my legs up and draped my knees over the branch like on the monkey bars at school. It was a close call. But this was not the monkey bars. I was now upside down and even farther from the ground, and I was stuck. Calvin! I yelled, help me down! There was no answer for a long time. The scent of cookies wafted from the house. Hey, I screamed. I heard milk glasses clinking, followed by muffled voices of a TV cooking show. Then the sound of Annie Belly singing, la, 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 la. Annie Belly, I screamed, help! La, 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 sang Annie Belly. Mom, I squawked. My breath puffed out in clouds. My face froze. My nose ran. My ears rang. My head spun. Then I had an itch I couldn't reach. But that wasn't the worst of it. It was getting dark. The wind moved. The leaves applauded. The garden hose hissed and slithered. The grass disappeared, and in its place roared a black, black sea. Ah! I screamed. Somewhere a piano played. Video games blasted, and Annie Belly sang, la, 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 la. I wanted to cry, so I did. I squeezed the branch with my knees and cried full blast. Crying's really great, even upside down. Everything is always better afterward. And it was. Soon I heard Louise coughing up the driveway. Louise is my dad's wasabi green car, which he loves more than fireworks. My dad was home. My dad is da dad, which means he's the best. He would save me. He always does. Dad! I yelled. Dad! Help me, Dad! I'm in the tree! I screamed as loudly as I could. There was only one problem. No sound came out of my mouth. My voice was all in my head. Out there in the cold, in the dark, in the grasp of the evil tree, perched above the hungry sea, I was too scared to speak, and school hadn't even begun. Oh, you poor thing, said my mom, rolling me up in a blanket before carrying me into the house. How did we forget you? It is easy to forget me. I don't make much noise whenever I am scared out of my wits. And like my dad says, out of sight, out of mind, which means if you don't see me, you won't think of me either. But finally, when my mom saw my empty place at the dinner table, she thought of me. My mom is da mom. She never had another life like my dad, who was probably secretly a gung fu action hero spy master assassin before he was a dad. She was always a mom. She was practically born that way, but that's okay. She's really super duper. She's not afraid of heights. She can climb a tree in 2 seconds flat and tear me, poor thing, from the grasp of the evil tree just like that. I love it when she calls me that, poor thing. It was almost worth hanging like a roast duck to hear it. Poor thing. Chapter 4, Allergic to School. When I was your age, my dad said at breakfast the next day, I was scared of school too. Worse, I was never a superhero before I went to school, so it was very rough. My dad is not superhero material, but he has read practically everything ever written about superheroes and so knows us from beginning to end, which explains a lot about him. Just hold your head high, said my dad, and be a gentleman. But I feel sick, I said. My dad put a hand on my forehead. No fever. Are you sure? I looked at his hands. They are thick like baseball mitts. It was a wonder he could feel anything through them. Where does it hurt, he asked. All over, I said. It was true. I was not making it up. I must have grown at least 2 inches from stretching so long in that tree, and growing hurts, as everyone knows. I gave a little moan. Said my dad. I moaned a little more. You are not sick, said my dad. But I will be, I said. I will be very, very sick. I'm allergic to school, severely allergic. My dad looked at me. Alvin? He said, firmly putting one of his mitts on my shoulder. Yes, Dad. You will be okay, son, he said. I love it when he calls me that, son. I felt a little better. Maybe my dad was right. Maybe I would be okay. A good word from my dad changes everything. Besides, if I miss the bus, my dad might have a few other words for me. So I dashed out of the house and caught up with Calvin just as the bus was pulling up at the end of our driveway. Bye, Alvin, cried Annie Belly. Bye, Calvin. Bye, Annie Belly. We waved and climbed on. The wheels on the bus went round and round. I was okay. I clutched my PDK and sat next to Calvin in the back of the bus where all the 4th graders sit. The big kids screamed their heads off. I screamed my head off. We bounced up and down. You will be okay, son, my dad's voice echoed between my ears. I smiled at Calvin and Calvin smiled back. I was okay. Then we arrived at school. My sneakers landed like a couple of cement blocks when I got off the bus. My stomach turned like a washing machine when I got inside. I found the door that said, 2nd grade, Miss Pestalozzi. My throat tightened. Welcome, said a lady. I'm Miss P. I stopped dead in my tracks. Her hair was shiny and her skin was clean, and she smelled like fresh laundry out of a dryer. She smiled at me, but I did not smile back. I hardly even looked at her. I clutched my PDK. I felt dizzy. I looked around. The room was bright and neat. The walls were blank except for a picture of Henry David Thoreau and another picture of a small cabin. It is a copycat version of the original cabin that Henry had built at Walden Pond with his own hands. Henry David Thoreau is my hero, Asha said to her friend Flea. You know, he kept a really cool journal. My sister says we get to read parts of it in 2nd grade. Everyone pushed past me. Eli shoved Scooter and Scooter shoved back. You're it, cried Scooter, tagging Eli, who tripped backward over Jules, who was curled on the floor waiting for Sam to leapfrog. Then Hobson and Nia scuttled across the room like 2 crabs in a deathlock. They were terrific. Everything whirled around me. I was in the middle of it, but I was not in it at all. So far, 2nd grade wasn't any different from 1st grade, which wasn't any different from kindergarten. I was thinking about running and hiding when, want to be desk buddies again? It was Flea. She was my desk buddy in 1st grade. She is a girl. I wanted to say no way. Nobody wants a girl desk buddy except for maybe a girl. The scary thing about girls is that they are not boys. Most girls are no good at robbery and mayhem. They can't punch, but they can kick, which hurts. They skip rope too fast. They are boring. I opened my mouth to tell her all this, but my tongue turned into sandpaper and nothing came out. Come on, said Flea, pulling out the chair next to her. You can sit with me and Esha. Here she is. Everyone was choosing their seat and sitting down, and soon it would be too late to sit with the boys. I opened my mouth. I wished for my voice. I wished and wished and wished, but nothing came out. Finally, I slumped into the chair. I was not okay. I was so allergic to school, but I was even more allergic to girls. Okay, and that's the end of chapter 4. And thank you so much for joining me for part 1 of Alvin Ho, Allergic to Girls, School, and Other Scary Things, written by Lenore Look, with pictures by LuUyen Pham, published by Yearling. I hope you join me next time for part 2 of Alvin Ho. I'm Michele, at the Portland Public Library in Portland, Maine.